Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux and welcome back to another toy photography tutorial where today I've come out to the park here in this little wooded area because I want to create an epic battle scene. Not with myself of course, but with some toys, some little JoyToy Warhammer figurines. I want a nice natural environment to try and create a scene where these guys look at home. So that means we're looking for the correct scale and some nice lighting and some cool poses and composition with the camera. So first of all, I wanted to show you what we're photographing today. I've brought a little suitcase out with me. It's the only thing I had to keep them in. But I've got some of these little JoyToy action figurines of the Ultramarines. Now they're already posed a little bit because they've been sat on my desk, but we have a few of these guys, notably including Marnius Calgar, this big dude just here. He's a really epic figure. And I want to create a cool battle scene with these guys all posing as they do in the Warhammer artwork. So I'm going to find a suitable area out here in the woods and see if I can't pose them a little bit to make them seem like they're in their own natural environment. So what I'm actually doing here is having a look around on the ground to try and find interesting areas that are to scale. So right down here you'll see that we've actually found this little well, it's a type of net, I think, which although it's pretty cool, it's not going to be to scale to our Space Marines. That thing will look really huge. However, there are some nice rocks down here in the undergrowth, and I think these look like big crags, big hills or boulders to the size of the Space Marines. So these little rocks down here, it looks like broken up concrete. There was maybe a wall of some sort here at some point. So I've got the beginnings of a composition going on down here. The camera's just resting on a rock, certainly not the final composition, and I will be tweaking that, but it gives me a good opportunity to take a look through the lens and see what my scene is going to look like as I build it. I've got my first Space Marine stood down on the rock, and again I'll do a little bit more posing, including adding some extra figures in there as well to make this scene a little bit more full. But the biggest thing that I've noticed looking through the camera and the lens is that the lighting looks really flat. That's because we're in a wooded area here, and although it's a sunny day, there are clouds coming and going, so the sunlight coming through the clouds and the trees is giving us a really diffused light in our scene. Now, sometimes that's a really helpful and nice thing to have. It lights everything quite evenly, and it's still enough light to take a good photograph, but it's not quite what I want for a scene like this. I want something a little bit more dramatic. I want some effects and I want some directional light. There's also something else that I want to achieve with our lighting, and that is to underexpose all of those trees in the background. When you're looking at something like this, all of that foliage in the background is actually really overexposed because the sun is hitting all of the leaves and bouncing around, so the background is much lighter than the foreground, and I want the opposite of that. I want to try and underexpose those trees and add a lot more light to the scene itself and my figures. So then guys, I need to add a little bit of light to Marnius Calgar here, and the way that I'm going to do that is by using the Adaptalux Studio. Now usually I have this attached to a mini tripod, but today we've got something a little bit different and brand new. So we have here the stabilizer. The stabilizer is back, so the stabilizer 2.0 is brand new, and this gives us a really nice low profile support option for the Adaptalux Studio. It screws onto the control pod here with a dedicated little screw hole in the bottom, and it allows us to get a really low to the ground lighting setup. I've got attached into the bottom here some spiked feet as well, because the ground is actually really uneven around here. There's twigs and leaves and all sorts, so these spiked feet will just help to navigate around that and get us some nice solid footing for our lighting. So since we plugged in those two white lighting arms, things have changed considerably, and this is kind of the way it goes with toy photography. You set things up, you change things around, you decide that you don't really like it how it is, and everything changes. The posing takes an awful long time to get right, and making sure that everybody is in the right position relative to each other, and that our main guy here has a sufficiently heroic pose, well, it's a little bit tricky. You can see that I've moved some of the stones around, piled them up, and placed guys at various intervals here. This is mostly to give the scene some depth, because I've moved the camera. It's no longer up here at the top of the hill looking down. What I've done is moved it all the way back over here looking up. That means that we've got ground behind our scene, so I'm no longer worrying about all of those trees in the background. Now I've got some, well, there's still a few trees, but not quite as many, and we're looking at the ground, so we've got a lot more opportunities to light things here. And well, I will admit I've gone pretty overboard with the lighting, but every single one of these lighting arms has a purpose. I'm going to run you very quickly through each one. They're currently all turned off on sleep mode to save a little bit of battery while I'm nattering away, but I will turn them on in a moment, and you can see the full effect as we turn them all on. We'll look through the back of the camera. So back here to start off with, we've got a few colored lighting arms in the pod with the stabilizer. So a couple of those lighting arms are shining at these two characters just here. They're both red because we have an explosion in the background. This is tin foil or aluminium foil. It's crumpled up in a nice big ball, and it's sat right at the back of the scene. This is really important because I want to silhouette these guys against a huge explosion. I'm using two flash arms, one with a red gel on it and one with an orange gel on it. The reason I'm using flash arms for these is because they're much more powerful, and all the way back here we're going to need all of the brightness that we can get to fully overexpose the reflection from this tinfoil. That's going to create a really bright explosion effect in the background. Lastly, in this back pod we have a blue lighting arm because this guy's sword that he's holding up in the air is a power sword, and those glow blue. So I've just narrowed the beam angle on that blue arm to catch just the sword, and that again is just a nice colorful highlight in the background of the shot. So this flash arm down here is plugged into a pod mini, which is just allowing me to bring a single arm around from the opposite side towards that tinfoil. So up here we have another control pod. It's on a mini tripod, and this one is fully loaded. It's not often that I use all 5 ports in a control pod, but today we're doing just that. So we've got 3 white lighting arms. This first white lighting arm, it's pointing up and lighting the front of our background character here, the lieutenant. And then these 2 lighting arms, one's a lighting arm S and one is a standard white lighting arm. The arm S is lighting Marnius Calgar, the front of him, and then the normal white is lighting the 2 other characters, just so we've got some nice white light coming from the front. Then we have a red lighting arm lighting up the side of this rock just to enhance that look of the explosion. And finally an orange lighting arm lighting up the sides and the shoulder pads of these 2 guys just here, particularly Marnius Calgar. I want him to have some nice color shining off those golden highlights and features on his armor. So that is a lot of lighting arms. There's a lot of color coming from a lot of directions, and usually you wouldn't need this many arms. If you're just shooting one character, usually you'd get away with 1, 2, 3 different lighting arms from different directions. I will link up in the top right hand corner to just a single Space Marine being shot at home, but this is by far the most complicated toy shoot that I've ever done, and so therefore it also has the most complicated lighting setup. I want this to look really epic, and that means a lot of light coming from a lot of different directions. Obviously Battlegrounds, especially in a sci-fi setting like this, are really complicated places. There's light sources all over the place, explosions going off all over the place, and that means that there's a lot of individual light sources, and if we want to do this properly, we have to represent that in real life with all of these various light sources. So I'm going to turn these pods on now and we can take a look at the full effect of our lighting. So as you can see there is a huge change in the way that our scene looks, and it's not done yet because those flashes are yet to fire. Let me take a photo and show you what this looks like. Now I've got one more little trick up my sleeve, and that is atmosphere aerosol spray. This stuff just here. You can buy this online and it's basically, well, atmosphere in a can. A battlefield like this is obviously not going to be quite as clear as we've seen it so far, and this stuff just adds a little bit of smoke and haze into the shot that obscures a little bit more of that background and makes all of our lighting pop a little bit more. So since I started shooting, the sun has begun to go down. That's how long I've been fiddling with my action figures, changing my lighting, changing my camera settings. There really is a lot of fiddling around to do with a shoot like this, particularly if you make it really hard on yourself and have 4 different figures going at once. And well, certainly nobody's using this many lighting arms to try and light their action figures unless you've got multiple action figures. Perhaps that's why most people like to shoot in natural light, but I think having access to all of these different colored lights, well, it certainly makes things a lot more interesting, a lot more dramatic, and a lot more realistic in terms of a battle scene. So I think the time has been well spent, and I'm really happy with the results. I thought about this for quite some time. Basically, since I brought the action figures themselves, I was thinking, how are they going to be posed? How can I get an explosion in the background? What's the lighting going to be like? And I realized that not everybody is into action figures or even toy photography, but this is a really fun exercise for practicing a lot of different photography skills. It's not really macro photography, but it is certainly still close-up, and it uses a lot of the same principles. You still have to think about your depth of field and your lighting and your focus point, and trying to make things look and seem a lot bigger than they actually are. I'd certainly recommend, if you have any kids or teenagers that are into toys and action figures, this is a really fun way to connect with something that you might not otherwise be interested in. Let's go out and take some really cool, epic photos of your toys and make them look like they've come to life. I have taken a few more just to have a little bit of fun, some close-ups of each of the characters. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you enjoyed the shoot, make sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe for lots more macro photography tutorials, ideas, and inspiration coming in the future. For now, that is all I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.